All right. Before I start, I'd like to talk about the fact that I do not participate in or endorse any illegal activities. I just happen to be very knowledgeable about the information at hand. With that being said, I chose this topic because it's an incredibly controversial issue in modern America, especially with a lot of young people like myself, millennials, even a few of the older Generation Z. So I'm going to talk about why I think we should have legal marijuana. You could probably think of a million reasons why, or why not, depending on who you are, we should have, legal weed. But I'm going to talk about the ones that are most important to me from my perspective. Also, I don't smoke weed, so it comes from a complete outside perspective. Anybody here smoke a cigarette? Raise your hand. Who smokes a cigarette? You probably don't feel too good about that decision, do you? See, the thing is, weed is miles healthier than cigarettes. Harvard psychiatrists have conducted studies that prove that alcohol and tobacco both have stronger addictive tendencies than marijuana, and some people even use marijuana to quit smoking cigarettes because they take it in small doses, and even Nate Diaz uses it. You guys know who Nate Diaz is? Really famous UFC fighter. He's little known for ripping his dab pen in the press conference after losing to Conor McGregor, which is actually probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen. This dude's completely beat up sitting there getting high. But that's besides the point. He got, a warning from the anti-doping agency after he did that, so obviously not allowed. But comparing it to tobacco isn't the only reason we can make a compelling argument that weed should be legalized. There's plenty of other legitimate arguments for doing so. Some of these are significant mental health improvements. Everybody who smokes weed has said they feel uplifted or they feel better because of weed, obviously. It's been shown to reduce diabetes and obesity. Your digestive system works a little differently when you're under the influence of marijuana. And I can't speak from experience or any knowledge of this, but weed is also known to be the ultimate solution to period cramps. So I don't know if you guys have tried that out, but maybe consider that in the future. And aside from just basic needs and benefits from it, it has some scientific proof. Cannabis has been shown to kill cancer cells in multiple different ways, from halting metastasis, even though you guys probably don't know what that means, triggering cell suicide, and THC can even prevent HIV from progressing into AIDS, which is actually insane because there's 1.1 million people living in America today with HIV, and 200,000 of them don't even know about it. And there's a good chance that some people of those 200,000 smoke a lot of weed and will never get AIDS because of it, which is ridiculous to think about, but that's why they do it, and it works. So aside from the scientific evidence we have to prove that weed might not be that bad for us, we have some other supporting arguments, such as the vast majority of cannabis users reporting that their sexual experiences while under the influence of marijuana were significantly improved. So if you don't believe me, go find your nearest pothead friend, because I'm sure one of them's out there. Ask them how they feel about that issue, and I'm sure they'll give you the same answer. Secondly, just because weed isn't legal doesn't mean people are going to not use it. Surveys show that 45% of Americans admitted to using marijuana. If you do the math, that scales up to 145 million people, which is essentially half our country. Obviously, probably not an exact number, it's just a survey, but that's still insane to think about, that literally half the people in this country are getting high at some point. And lastly, the government has an opportunity to make an absurd amount of money off this. It's the same reason why they haven't stopped producing tobacco. It's because of taxes. In Colorado alone, in the first half of 2017, there was $750 million in legal weed sales. That converted to $116 million in servicing fees, licensing fees, and taxes straight to the state government for the first half of 2016 alone. And Colorado only has a population of 5.6 million people, so you can imagine it's a little different for California, a state with 40 million people that also has legal marijuana, and they're probably raking in a nice amount of cash over there. So we're clearly missing out. Sorry. You're probably still in awe at those numbers. The government's missing out on billions of tax dollars as we speak and spending boatloads of money to fight against this. But that's not the most important reason as to why I chose to talk to you guys about why I think we should have legal marijuana. I probably haven't and probably won't converse with you guys on a personal level anytime soon. Semester's about to end, we're being realistic. But my mom has Crohn's disease, and she's had it her entire life since she was in middle school. And, you know, she's suffered from it a lot. She was in and out of the hospital since she was 11, 12 years old, and she has staples in her intestines. She's never going to be able to have an MRI because MRI's magnets rip the staples right out of your stomach, obviously. And, you know, it's just really crazy to think about. But what if I told you guys the government was dispensing weed to people with Crohn's disease? You believe me?
Yeah.
You believe me? Nodding over there. It's because they are. That's pretty backwards, right? Didn't we just address the fact that it's federally illegal and the government is sending people weed to their houses? That's ridiculous. Dude, in 2013, they conducted a controlled study that gave half the patients weed and half the patients a placebo weed, and half the group showed complete remission of their Crohn's disease in 8 weeks, and 91% of the group that took the actual weed showed improvements in their symptoms. 91%! Are you kidding me? That's basically everyone. If that doesn't prove that this is beneficial to the patients, then I don't know what will. And my mom probably doesn't even know that she can get legal weed, and I'm pretty uncomfortable going home and telling my mom to, you know, buy some weed. Like, that's a little odd. But I plan to do that next week. I'm going home Monday. I'm getting straight to the apartment. Mom, you should get some weed. I know it can benefit you and your symptoms with Crohn's disease. So, at the end of the day, that's what's really important to me is my mom's health, because I've been there in the past when my mom has been struggling. I've taken her to the hospital. I've taken care of her for days on end. I've seen her in pain, and it hurts me to, you know, watch this happen, which is why this is such a meaningful subject to someone like me. Even though I don't smoke weed and I probably don't plan on it anytime soon, I don't have time for that, and probably makes you way too lazy. You know, I want my mom to be healthy. I want her to live an incredibly long and happy life, and I'll do whatever it takes to make sure she does exactly that. So hopefully I convinced you guys as to why we should have legal marijuana, and thank you.